I am Vigarde, Emperor of Grado. Nay, all of Magvel. Leon, our people must be saved.
I was expecting Glenn to be the next Sacred Stone's Grand Hero battle unit to finish off the Grado generals. However, another flyer probably would have been a bit much considering the flyer heavy Freilian banner, and we also just got Spring Michaelis. Instead, we're going to the top of the Grado Empire, and Emperor Vigarde is here to party. Funny enough, Sacred Stones had its own post-game that lets you get non-playable characters to use for fun. This included most of the Grado generals, but Vigarde was not included, so it's neat to see him here. Leon's father is a Lance Army unit, and from the artwork and sprite, you can kind of see Vigarde has some light purple flames we usually associate with the Fallen Hero ults in Fae. This is because, like in Sacred Stones, this isn't really the actual Vigarde. The Demon King's influence had already affected Grado, so it's extra funny that everyone is getting a free for Mortis very soon. Couldn't ask for better timing. For stats, Vigarde will have 46 HP, 47 attack, 30 speed, 44 defense, and 29 resistance. He will have a defense super boon, which is excellent, and 47 base attack is actually the highest in the game. Even with Dragonflyers, Vigarde still ties for highest attack in the game total, so maybe that's something you want to play around. Sadly, like with most recent free army units, Vigarde will not be min-maxed very much. 30 base speed's kinda awkward. It can be useful against other slower units depending on your skills, but generally for the current armor builds, it typically isn't the focus. The higher base speed will also just drag down Vigarde's magical bulk. Usually it's the weakness of Armians in main Fire Emblem games, but in Fae, Armians can tank magic, no problem thanks to skills, so it does hurt when unnecessary points in speed take away from resistance. One benefit of Vigarde over his competition is that he does hit 196 BST. That means with the defense super boon, he can hit the next arena scoring bin. Sadly, Vigarde will not get a unique weapon though. His lance and his artwork look sick, but in game he simply has the Protection Pike Plus. I do like the name. Protection Pike is an inheritable 14 might lance. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grant +5 attack and defense and inflict guard on the foe during combat. Very basic, very easy to use. Similar to Etier's protection bow, this pike technically is a new weapon. However, its main effects are the same as Winterhilda's Candy Cane Plus. The only improvement is the range requirement is 3 instead of 2. That's good, but for armors like Vigarde, the guy shouldn't be far from an ally in the first place. Winterhilda is a 4-star focus unit and seasonal, so Protection Pike is just easier to get than the Candy Cane. I don't know though, slapping people with a giant candy cane might be worth the range reduction. Generally speaking, this is a fine guard-based weapon, more attack and defense for Vigarde's best stats, and should always be active. For his base kit, not the most inspiring. Dragon Fang is fine for high attack, but since Vigarde has high defense, Ignis will just do more damage on the same cooldown. Defense and Res Ideal 3 is not the most common skill, but it was on Valentine's Alyssa last year, who is also a Heroic Grado unit. Defense and Res Ideal 4 is not exactly a skill many units are gunning for. And then we got Wary Fighter 3. We just got Ludwig, who had Vengeful Fighter 3, which was a nice surprise after 6 years of Wary Fighter. Well, that did not last long. You would think the highest attack unit in the game maybe could have been a good opportunity to give Bold Fighter 3 to and to try and spice things up. Admittedly, I still think Bold Fighter is strong for what it is, but literally everyone not named Edelgard is running enemy phase setups. Would have been neat to get Bold Fighter since we just got Guidance 4 to let armors warp around though. Anyway, not the greatest base kit, Wary Fighter is just not doing much nowadays. If you want to merge Vigarde up, the neutral nature grants +1 HP, attack, and defense. Can't go wrong with that, but as I mentioned, the defense super boon will boost his arena score if you care about that. An attack boon would be fun, and a res boon could help if you want to go full tank. Earlier in this base stat total generation, we got Cervantes. He was only the second Heroic Grado Lance Armor unit, and it had been quite a while since the last free-to-play Lance Armor at the time. Vigarde is gonna curb that uniqueness a bit, and he will score better in Arena if that's a plus for you. Generally speaking though, Vigarde and Cervantes will perform about the same. They have the same base defense, the same awkward speed, and Vigarde has higher res in exchange for lower HP. Vigarde will have the attack advantage slightly though. Now until our boys get unique weapons in about 20 years, not really a huge difference. Last time we talked about Lance armors, I focused on Effie because she has a resplendent outfit which means +2 to all stats as a bonus. The extra BST does make her the closest comparison to Cervantes and Vigarde, keeping up in attack and res, and supplementing a lower defense with super high HP. Valbar is also close, but he lacks raw attack. There are also bulkier armors like Benny or Gwendolyn, but again they just do not hit these same levels of damage. Benny is probably the best slow tank of this group with a much higher base res. He will be the best user of some of the survivability builds we will talk about. Now for budget setups, relatively simple game plan for arm units, stack a ton of attack, defense and res, and then try to get a follow-up skill. Personally, I don't think Wary Fighter is worth it at this point. Too many things counter it completely, and I would rather just try to get a follow-up with Quicker Post or Vengeful Fighter. Ludwig has Vengeful Fighter 3, so take that for a basic enemy phase setup. You can stack any combination of Ideal, Bond, Form, or Stance skills. With Protection Pike, you get more attack and defense and guard, which is nice. And then with Vengeful Fighter, you're going to get some extra cooldown reduction when Vigarde attacks. But if you want to use Wary Fighter or just plain Quicker Post, you want to take Steady or Warding Breath as a seal. If you aren't using them, we have gotten quite a bit of ephemeral common manuals with Bold Fighter, including last month's Valentine's Alphonse. Everyone is running save skills, so not a huge demand for the player face Armor B skill. If you just want something different, a free follow-up with extra cooldown would be good on the highest attack unit in the game. Ideally, you want Armor March or Boots for extra movement. Rearm Tana's new Guidance 4 can also do the job. Moving on to premium skills, I would love to see a Wary Fighter 4 in the future. If they were to keep the no follow-up effects for the user, then it would have to be an insane defensive skill. I'm talking like attack debuffs, damage reduction, guard, healing, built-in Svalin shield, cooldown reduction, defense no follow-up, flat DR. Okay, maybe not everything at once, but it would definitely need more tools to trump Hardy Fighter. Since Vigarde has high attack, you could try to take advantage of it with the new Vengeful Fighter 4 from Gilliam on the current banner. As a bonus, Gilliam can pass along attack and defense near save 3, and you basically just need an A skill to complete the build. Vigarde would get Breath type cooldown, enemy face Omnibreaker, and Protection Pike provides guard. That could let Vigarde use a Unity skill or maybe close defense 4. Unfortunately, no instant bonfire counterattack, but you could reply with Glimmer or Moonbow. Otherwise, you're gonna just be stuck with Ignis or Aether on a longer cooldown. If you want damage reduction, Spring Michaelis just brought the Hair's Lance +5 attack and defense, and 40% DR for one hit. Damage reduction is always spicy on the super tanky arm units, and it can fit into the Vengeful Fighter build. You can also replace guard via a tier 3 dual stance A skill. When we talked about Cervantes last, the Arcane Lance was not a thing. Arcane Chiang is now in the game though, and you can do some heavy lifting for army units. It has excited specials, +5 to all stats, Omnibreaker, and if the user or foe moves when initiating, then you're going to get Breath type cooldown reduction. These are fantastic perks for classes that lack skills which provide these effects, such as Flyers and Cavaliers. Well, army units have no shortage of busted B skills that grant follow-ups and cooldown reduction. Arcane Chiang will overlap effects with most fighter B skills. You technically can stack follow-up attacks, but defense and no follow-up will cancel all of them out, so that has not been a very go-to tactic for years. Luckily, Arcane Chiang kinda perfectly synergizes with the hottest armor skill, Hardy Fighter. First up, defense and no follow-up with follow-up denial means the enemy must bring offense and no follow-up and outspeed to double Vigarde. This is a good combo because, for example, the new Rearm Tana cannot double with her current kit into this build. All her speed is worthless without offense and no follow-up. Now you then will have excited specials, which means Pavis or H's for Hardy Fighter. 75% DR is massive, and few units will stop defensive specials. You know, ignore the crazy Axe Cavalier we just got who does just that. Besides those units though, Vigarde will have Breath type cooldown to recharge Pavis on the counterattack, and in case of doubles, he has a chance to follow up, which can recharge Pavis again. It's also just better kill potential. As a bonus, Vigarde will get player phase power. Obviously not a lot of movement without mobility skills, but hey, it's not a pure enemy phase build with the Arcane Chiang. You gotta admit, for a quote-unquote inheritable weapon, Arcane Chiang is really interesting for arm units. Obviously, they are crazier 5-star Lance armors out there, including the infamous Brave Hector, but for guys like Vigarde, Cervantes, or even old Effie, it's not a bad setup. If you're not a fan of just tanking hits, Arcane Chiang could be potent with Special Spiral 4. All the cooldown perks, plus DR piercing and rechargeability, certainly cannot be ignored. If Vigarde can tank a hit, he retaliates with a DR piercing bonfire. all of those ranged units trying to stack DR with remote skills will just explode. If Bonfire recharges, you also have a player phase nuke, and with Arcane Challenge effects, you can double proc Bonfire in certain conditions. Guidance 4 could open up a path if you weren't running a save skill. I think it's an interesting option, and with Arcane Challenge, there just isn't a ton of armor B skills to run besides Hardy Fighter anyway. I think Guard 4 could be another defensive option, but obviously it's just tough to beat the power of defensive specials at the moment. So, should you promote Vigarde to 5 stars? The rarity of free-to-play Lance armors is easing up with this generation. 3 free-to-play armors for Gen 7 and a second Lance armor now in the mix. All 3 of these guys are not getting min-max stats. I think it's obvious their free reward status is the reason. They have a bit too much speed for typical defensive builds. You can utilize it, but it's very tough besides beating the other super slow tanks. For Vigarde, he does tie for highest attack in the game. It's not that much higher than other units, but still noteworthy on a free reward unit. In terms of skills, technically Protection Pike Plus is a new inheritable lance. It's basically an upgrade to the Candy Cane Plus that is easier to obtain, but it just doesn't hit the same as slapping someone with a stick of sugar. For passives, nothing special to talk about. Overall, Vigarde would have been a more interesting unit if we didn't just get Cervantes in the same generation. Free-to-play armors are still rare though, but they will perform basically the same. If you need higher HP to avoid stat checks, Cervantes will pull ahead. If you care about arena scoring, then Vigarde has the edge if you take the defense super boon. Regarding builds, obviously Arcane Challenge is the main talk of the town. It has pretty dang good synergy with Hardy Fighter, otherwise its effects will overlap with basically all the other armor fighter skills. Follow-up skills can stack, but no follow-up cancels everything out, so it's not a dependable strategy. At the very least, more tier 4 armor B skills will roll in, maybe a new Arcane Lance will appear, and that can shift Vigarde's build around. With all this said, is Arcane Challenge putting Vigarde above blue 5-star armor units, or even just more min-maxed armors like Benny? I mean, literally on the banner is Gilliam, whose stats are more optimized, and he has a unique weapon. You then got the famous Brave Hector, Ascendity Dune, Pirate Surtur, Foresight just got to refine, and so on. The main advantage is that Vigarde will be plus tenable eventually. You will need a ton of premium skills, but even without the Arcane Lance, you can put something decent together since armor skills have a lot of options, and Savior kinda just simplifies their whole game plan. That's all I got for this video. Personally, I probably won't be doing anything fancy with my own Vigarde. I just have too many blue plus emerge projects from Sacred Stones, and I wanted to use Gilliam anyway. Thank you for watching. Go complete Vigarde's Grand Hero Battle, and I will see you in the next video.